I was just going back and watching some old videos that I've recorded that I haven't published yet. And the video was about like recording the comms of one of the TF2 matches that I've been playing. And just funny listening to people talk. You know? Even if the people aren't you, it's always funny to just go back and listen and damn, what you sound like. Damn, that's what I sound like. Okay, that was a very nonsensical intro, but welcome back to The Mic is Hot Now. If you noticed, perhaps when encountering this channel, it will have always been called this, but previously it was called The Mic is Hot. Now I changed it to The Mic is Hot Now just to make it a little bit more discoverable because there seems to be a lot of other people made podcasts and shows who all had the same idea as me and named it somewhat along the lines of the mic is hot. So we're adding on an extra word. Maybe in a few more episodes, we'll just add on another word as I rediscover that this title still sucks and nobody's gonna find this. But, I mean, that's not the point of this, right? I'm not trying to make it big. We're letting things organically grow, if they even grow. I'll be actually I guess one of the anti goals that would be kind of cool if it actually happened. Come like 10, 20 years from now, where I don't actually promote this to anybody, see how well organic growth goes on YouTube if you don't actually actively promote things. And in 10, 20 years, if I still have zero subscribers, zero views on all of these things, it would just be a treasure trove of hidden content that nobody in the world will ever see. Because unlike my other podcasts I used to do, I don't think I'm gonna listen back to these, at least for a good while. Because listening to myself talk for long periods of time, that's just a bit of a yikes with how rambly I am, how much I sometimes dislike things that I say, the mannerisms that I employ. Just listening back to myself ramble for 30 minutes on end is not how I would usually spend my time. I think these past few episodes I've been talking a lot about personal stuff, about stuff that I want to improve about myself, stuff that I don't like about myself, just things related about myself, which makes sense as this is kind of like a personal podcast show thing. But I think it's good to change it up sometimes to talk about general topics that are interesting to me. Like, as I said, this show is just a place for me to air out shower thoughts that I had, right? Those things that pop into your head and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And I can expand upon it here on this platform and not have to worry about what other people think about it. So today I'm going to expand upon one that I had been bouncing around in my head ever so often from a few videos that I've seen and just seeing people on the streets. And this topic is about the smartphone dependence. So, what I mean by that is, well, it's pretty self explanatory. Smartphones and just phones in general are just such an integral part of our lives now, especially technology wise. And the part I that really got me thinking was, what if you went homeless? Like, it's so hard to get out of homelessness now. I feel like it's harder now in a more digital age than, I don't know, a couple years ago, 50 years, 10, 20 years ago when everything was not digital. Even though being homeless still sucked back then. Maybe the social programs were not as good, though. That's debatable. I feel like getting yourself out of homelessness was still probably easier than it is now, where a lot of things are very digital, and when you're homeless, it can be very difficult to be even connected digitally. So you're already at like a lower step. You already have a disadvantage, and it's already going to be hard to climb out of it. So this was the thought that prompted me to think more about how smartphones and technology in general just dominate everything that is part of our lives. And I'm just drawing upon a few anecdotes that I have. So, one of the things that really annoyed me, I guess, about smartphone dependence is a lot of things these days, like a lot of accounts you make, especially things with like Google or bank accounts or things with things that actually make sense to have two-factor authentication, right? To have secure identity verification. A lot of these things, as I said, employ two-factor authentication. And what this means is, suppose you're trying to log into either your Google account or you're trying to log into like bank account or your credit card account online on a computer. Since these are sensitive things, right? Rightly, they probably want to verify that the person logging in on this device, especially if it's a device you haven't used before, is actually you. So, one way that they do this oftentimes is by sending you a text message or through a app on your phone to like verify that, oh, this is actually me logging in on this computer. Because the idea is, if it's actually you, you're probably going to have your smartphone on you so you can just verify it from your smartphone as you're logging in onto this new device, right? And this is not just that, it's also, I think the thing that really annoyed me or got me thinking about this is for my university, logging into the university account, even just on campus or anywhere, requires this two-factor authentication thing, which means basically, like what this in essence means is you want to try and log in or do anything, you need your phone on you. Now, as I said, this is a pro and con because the assumption of these two-factor authentication things is that you're always going to have your phone on you. And in this modern digital world, who isn't going to have their phone on them? The phone is just like a part of us now, and it's something that we're always going to be using, always going to be honest, and it's always going to be a tool that's available to us. But, sometimes you get the feeling, I know I've had these feelings before where I just want to disconnect, right? I don't want to be using my phone all the time. And sometimes, maybe, I don't know if people actually think this, but sometimes I feel like I don't want to carry my phone around, right? I just want to go somewhere, do whatever I have to do, and not have to have my phone around. And while this can be inconvenient, right? Maybe it's like a practice of self discipline or just disconnecting from using your phone all the time because using your phone all the time, not always the most fun thing to do, keeps you busy, but perhaps you want to practice building up your internal tolerance to not having a phone because maybe one day you won't have that or whatever reason you have for not wanting to have your phone on you. Maybe your phone's dead. See, this is even a thing. Even if you have your phone and your phone's dead, that it still falls into the same bucket with two-factor authentication, which is the assumption that you have a phone that is on and that you can use to two-factor authenticate yourself. So, what if something happens to your phone? It gets stolen. Okay? Like things happen, phone gets stolen. More likely thing, you break your phone by dropping it or leaving it somewhere, losing it somewhere. You're just fucked now. You literally can't do anything with your life, which is kind of scary. Like your phone is be all end all now. Basically, you can't even function without your phone, even if you want to. Like even if you don't want to have a phone anymore, which is kind of infeasible, but the more likely case is even if there's a situation where you can't have your phone because you lost it or you broke it, now you literally can't even function with your life. So in the example of my university, if I don't have my phone, I literally can't log on and do my work anymore because of this stupid two-factor authentication. Like I just even though I know my password and stuff, now I can't even log in if I don't have my phone, which just grinds my entire day, all the things that I'm doing to a complete halt. Same thing with like a bank account. Um, if I'm trying to log into my bank account and check my balance or do something like transfer some money, check my state of my account, well, guess what? You're gonna need your phone on you. You broke it. If you were a dumb bastard and you broke it or you lost it, guess what? You're fucked. Now you can't check your bank account statement either. Same thing with a credit card, and that's just scary as fuck. Like you usually schedule a time of the month, pay off your bills, and then suddenly that time of the month you fucked up your phone as well. Now you're just gonna be getting some late credit card payments, and that's how you start going into fucking credit hell, right? That just sucks. So this phone shit, why? The thing is, like, I understand the motivation for having to FAC, right? The thing is, why would you require it with these downsides, right? It strictly inhibits the person in case of bad things. There's no recovery. There's very little recovery you can do. All of the recovery options, if you don't have your phone, you still require like some kind of internet connection anyway. Perhaps, like, one idea I had is perhaps if you don't have your phone on you, right? The other way you verify is by sending you an email. But then to do that, because you don't have your phone, you're not logged into your email app on your phone, you have to then access your email on this other computer. Well, then guess what? You can't log into your email unless you fucking verify on your phone. And that is just stupid. That is just stupid and dumb. And I don't know how you get anything done, right? So, how does this just relate with the general smartphone addiction thing that I was talking about? Um, I mean, I didn't really want to talk about that, but smartphone addiction, I don't think I have really any good new thoughts to share along with it. It's just like, people are always on their phones. You see them. I'm always on my phone. I'm like not saying I'm a saint or anything. I definitely do this as well. I'm always just like, whenever there's a dull time, an easy automatic response to pull out your phone. And even when I think, I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should practice not using my phone. 10 minutes later, I forget about that and I just pull out my phone because it's a easy, ingrained way for you to pass the time when you're bored or when you're waiting for something. It's just an automatic thing. And this affects everybody now. Perhaps it's easier for older people as they had experience before. There were readily accessible smartphones to just practice doing that, but it just happens now, and there's no stopping it. So there's no stopping it. I don't really have any interesting thoughts to say about it. What I do have thoughts about are the idea, because of this smartphone addiction, how does it relate with getting out if you're homeless, right? As I said, everything is so digital now. It's very difficult to even do the first steps that many jobs now require. So suppose your job like requires you to answer emails, right? Lots of jobs do this. Lots of corporate jobs, lots of just non-frontline customer service jobs. I mean, even customer service jobs where you're like a customer service rep, you're probably going to be answering and checking emails. Well, if you don't have a phone, don't have a laptop because you're homeless, right? Don't really have anything. How are you supposed to even start and get into these jobs? Well, you can't. So like that means the avenue for workers now, for homeless people, I mean, they have to find jobs if that's what they're doing to try and get out of homelessness that even are require like no technical stuff upon them. They don't need a phone, they don't need a laptop or anything. And, that's just getting harder and harder these days because even if the things aren't directly required on the job, perhaps it's part of how you're getting paid, right? Like maybe a lot of jobs now, even those that are seemingly common, like being waiters, maybe waiters is not a good example, but being like a fast food worker or working in a retail chain, perhaps they pay you now not in terms of checks and cash like how they used to and would probably be the most convenient way for a homeless person. No, they just like do direct deposit and pay it to your bank account, which is great if you had technology, but if you're a homeless person, you don't have that. So like what can you do? Like if you're a homeless person, you probably depending on your history, you might not have credit cards or anything like that to even bankroll you and to allow you to like function in the real world anymore. You have to rely on cash checks. And the scary thing is, besides just not being able to find jobs that will even pay that, sometimes when you're even just living as a homeless person, now buying stuff, cash and checks are just dying out, right? Lots of countries, I know there are countries around the world that are starting to push digital currencies. A lot of things are just becoming all digital, right? And cash is just becoming a little bit of a novelty in some places. Now, this is still quite uncommon, as lots of people still function in cash, which is both good and bad. Like, I have basically stopped using cash, but understanding this need for cash, um, really in the context of like for homeless people, for people that perhaps don't have the facilities to actually have like bank accounts and credit card accounts. Like, I'm thinking illegal immigrants too. It must be more difficult, right, to actually open bank accounts and stuff because they probably usually will ask you for like U.S. residency or maybe not passport, but some form of ID, and usually that comes as some form of U.S. government issued ID, right? And if you're an illegal immigrant, you probably don't have that, which means you may not have those abilities to have like credit cards, debit cards, or bank accounts. So you're gonna have to function solely with cash. And if places start eliminating the use of cash and solely focusing on digital, it's gonna hurt a lot of illegal immigrant um, their lives, how they're gonna be able to function in everyday life, right? So that would be rough. The reason I even started thinking about this, I mean, in the current job market, I haven't been thinking that I'm gonna be home. I'm in a very fortunate position. I probably won't be, but no, you can never count shit out. And seeing videos, I've had some videos recommended to me about the experiences of different homeless people. Like a channel that is a nonprofit that focuses on helping out homeless people, and they do some interviews with like homeless people. Just really rough sometimes to hear. Like sometimes life just really happened. Like there's this one woman. The video was viral on YouTube. I might have watched it, but it was basically she was talking about how the way she became homeless was literally one of the California wildfires that happened burned down her house. And now she's got no place to stay, and her job originally um, was dependent on using like a computer and basically being able to work in a stable environment. So now with no house, I mean, you don't have a stable environment and you're kind of screwed. You literally are kind of screwed and you don't like what are you supposed to do? It's just it's just rough, and that all happened just not because of any fault of her own. Maybe she could have prepared more and stuff, but literally a freak natural disaster of a wildfire, and bam, puts you out on the streets homeless. Like, how do you deal with that? How am I going to approach that? That's something that I was thinking. Hearing the stories of these homeless people that got put into really unfortunate situations, sometimes not even like you cannot blame them at all. There are stories of like their parents literally just kicking them out when they're 18. Like, what are you supposed to do? Have better parents? Well, they wish. It's not something you could just ask for. And in that sense, like, what are you supposed to do? You're just kind of fucked day one. And it's just so sad, so unfortunate, so unfair, right? And the thing is, I would say like the common conservative mindset and just a lot of people's mind, honestly, when it comes to homeless people, like homeless people are lazy. They're not even trying to get. Well, how are you supposed to get out of it if the odds are so stacked against you? difficult to find a job because all the jobs require things that homeless people don't have. And then it's hard to function as a homeless person because now places are getting rid of the amenities and the things that homeless people need to survive. Like, what are you supposed to do to get out of homelessness? It's fucking scary. And I really hope I'll never have to experience that. I feel for the homeless people. Those videos really, every time I see a homeless person now, I still have that initial negative reaction. It's just part of how I was brought up, part of how the media and online media really just portrays homeless people, right? As do nothing, or people that are laggards in society who don't deserve anything. That's my initial reaction when I see them, but then I think of these experiences, these thoughts that I've had, these thoughts that I'm now sharing here on the podcast. I'm like, what are they supposed to do? Of course, there's going to be homeless people that aren't actually trying. But for every one person that isn't actually trying, I have to imagine 9 other people that are. And it's just an insanely tough road back. It's so difficult. How do they do it? I don't know. They have some insane mental strength, mental fortitude to keep going. Because if I was placed in such a situation, I think I'd fold. I think I wouldn't have the will. I think I have to develop that, prepared for that. Try and make it so that with the advantages that I have, the privileges that I have in my life right now, I should prepare, make sure that that will never happen to me, as I should take advantage of the privileges that I have, things that were just given to me that were not available to other people. I must be grateful that I take advantage of it. Yeah. That's my thoughts on homelessness. See you all next time.